Welcome everyone, and thank you for taking some time today. My name is Ryan Rydstrom. I'm part of the Standards-Based Learning Task Force at College Community School District, and we're here today with Mrs. Noreen Bush, who is the Director of Secondary Education and Innovation at Prairie. And we're going to discuss the shifts that we'll be seeing and what we might be seeing in standards-based learning as we take that journey. So, Noreen, if you would please just take us a broad overview of what those shifts will be for this upcoming school year in standards-based learning.
Sure. I too am a member of the task force, or standards-based learning task force, and we have been studying standards-based learning for several years now. I'd say it's in practice in our K-6 system, and Prairie Point, grades 7 through 9, have certainly been making shifts towards this practice, as well as some departments in the high school, and so we are just inching closer to being aligned as a K-12 system. One thing that the task force really worked on the past couple of years is creating common language, K-12, so that as our students move through the system, they're using the same language regarding their proficiency levels on standards. We'll talk more about that common language, but do want to talk about a little bit of the shifts of reporting and what families will see in each grade level. K-6 will really remain the same. Students will receive their report cards based on standards, and that language has changed just a little bit, but they really mean the same thing. 7th grade has a bit of a shift. However, they're going to look more like K through 6 than they are 8 through 12. 7th grade will no longer have letter grades of A, B, C, etc. They're going to work towards the goal that we have as a district, and to really report based on standards. So their report cards will look more similar to K-6. However, 8 through 12, we do realize that we're preparing students for post-high school success as a K-12 system, and post-high school institutions, whether it be colleges, military, career, do expect to see letter grades of A, B, C. So we're using a composite grade of letters A, B, and C. However, in grades 8 and 9, students will get both. They're going to have a proficiency grade as well as a letter grade for each course, and that's true for most of our core departments at the high school. They'll have proficiency grades based on standards as well as a composite letter grade for each course.
Well, thank you, Noreen. Talk to us a little bit. You mentioned common language. What is that common language, and talk us through what that will mean for our parents?
Sure. When we are reporting based on proficiency on a standard, teachers really unpack that standard and talk about what proficiency looks like and what it actually means. So they use a scaling system called a proficiency scale, and we use a 4-point scale. But we use language as descriptors for each one of those 4 points. So we're really going to target first is what meeting standard looks like and what that is defined as. So when a student is meeting a standard, it means that they have a body of evidence that's been collected over a period of time that shows that they're meeting that standard. And so on a reporting system, that would be an M of meeting. However, students sometimes reach into deeper learning and maybe extend their learning of a standard. And when they do that, they've touched into what we call exemplary work, which is really a mastery of a standard. It's not just proficiency, they're showing mastery of that standard. And when students reach into that, we're going to call that exemplary work. That is a shift from what we used to say as exceeding work. It's what we're going to future call exemplary work. However, in order to get to meeting or exemplary work, a student really has to start on the beginning journey of learning. And so when a student's just beginning on a standard, which is what we would expect in any new learning of a standard, that is at the beginning level. And then when they get closer to the meeting of standard, that's approaching. So the 4 levels, if you want to start from top to bottom, would be exemplary, meeting, approaching, and beginning.
I heard you mention body of evidence. Could you talk to us about what that means and what that might look like?
Sure. Well, it's not that big of a shift, I think, from past practice. I'll just use secondary as an example. Students have had assignments or tasks, and those show up in a grade book. However, in the past, when we were on a percentage-based system, then it looked like bins of homework and tests or quizzes, in-class assignments, etc. And then students would have percentage grades for each one of those bins. In a standards-based world, we're really focused on the standards and how students are achieving those standards. So the bins are no longer about percentages and tasks. The bins are about standards and learning. And so for a student to achieve a standard, to meet a standard, they really have to have several pieces of evidence to show demonstration. We could take a look at what this might look like in a teacher's grade book by one student, one standard, and a body of evidence. The example that we're going to show here shows a period of learning from, as you can see, November 26th to December 24th, and horizontally that represents a period of time. The student has 6 pieces of evidence. Not one piece of evidence is weighted more than another, but the student's beginning learning of a standard really started in the approaching arena, and the first couple of tasks that they did were approaching on that standard, but then the students started to trend towards meeting the standard, and even their last piece of evidence was exemplary work showing mastery level. What we're going to use is what's called power law, that really focuses on the power of focusing on a standard and how a student's evidence is trending, not averaging, how it's trending. And so this student, if we were to average the grade, it would probably be much lower if we thought about a 4-point scale, but they're really trending towards meeting the standard. And they only have one piece of evidence that's showing exemplary work. So we would say that this student at this point in time is trending towards meeting the standard.
Thank you for that description of what body of evidence looks like. Earlier you talked about in the shifts about how you're going to have a composite grade for 8th through 12th grade.
Yeah.
So can you just dive a little bit deeper on how that composite letter grade will be formulated or calculated based on proficiency marks?
Absolutely. And so we do depend on a parent portal for communication in our secondary system. And so parents will still have access. They'll still be able to see their students' grades and how they're performing based on standards. But they also want to know in the end, how's my kid doing? And for the past practice and our future practice, that still will be whether the student's getting an A, B, C, or etc. So that composite letter grade, we can just show a formula of what we're going to use. And this will be computed automatically within our computer system. However, teachers have professional judgment. Parents know their kids. We still have the advantage of having conversations about student performance at parent-teacher conferences, etc. So after each standard has been assessed, and each standard has a body of evidence, each standard will have a composite proficiency mark. So let's say that there are 3 standards that are being assessed within a specific course over a specific time period, and let's just say that's first quarter. A student would have a composite proficiency mark on 3 standards. So that could be an M, an M, and an E. We want all students to be meeting our standards. That is our goal. That's focus 1, as Mr. Spear has described. We believe all kids can learn at high levels. However, we also know that students might exceed that or might go into exemplary work. And so if they do, that would be the definition of an A. A student has to be meeting all standards, but in at least one of those standards, they have to touch into exemplary work. Otherwise, if they're meeting all the standards, that would be a B, and no more than one of those standards would be approaching in order to meet a B. A C level work would be all the standards have met or are approaching the standard. And then, of course, if a student's not there yet, we certainly would be communicating with families and with the student in order to get them to those letter grades of A, B, or C. I just think it would be a wonderful goal for us, for all students to be at those levels, and that is our goal, to have all kids learning at high levels. One question that families might have is, what does this look like then in Parent Portal? And so here's just a sample of what it would look like. If I am in this particular advanced algebra course, you can see there's a list of several standards, and this would be in semester 1. And so there are some composite proficiency marks if you go down the vertical line here of each standard. And so the first 3 standards are meeting, but then you're going to see letters of NA, NA, NA. The NA means that standard wasn't assessed at that point in time. It's not harming the student, it's not helping the student, it's just not assessed, and therefore it's not going to be computed into that composite letter grade. So because the student is meeting those first 3 standards, which are the power standards for this course and the beginning journey of this course, the composite letter grade at this current period of time is the letter B for this particular student. So if the student asks the teacher and they're really concerned and they want to be able to touch into A-level work, they would be looking at those standards and seeing what continued learning they could do to touch into exemplary learning or mastery level learning of one of those standards.
Well, thank you, Noreen, for taking time to describe our shifts in standards-based learning for all of our community members. We hope that you all enjoyed this, and as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of the building administrations or the ESC. Thanks again.
Thank you.